Verses 1 to 20. We have here another brave country delivered into the hand of Israel, that of Bashan. The conquest of Sihon is often mentioned together with that of Og, to the praise of God, the rather because in these Israel's triumphs began. PS 135:11, 136:19, 20. See how they got the mastery of Og, a very formidable prince, very strong, for he was of the remnant of the giants. v11. His personal strength was extraordinary, a monument of which was preserved by the Ammonites in his bedstead, which was shown as a rarity in their chief city. You might guess at his weight by the materials of his bedstead. It was iron, as if a bedstead of wood were too weak for him to trust to, and you might guess at his stature by the dimensions of it. It was 9 cubits long and 4 cubits broad, which, supposing a cubit to be but half a yard, and some learned men have made it appear to be somewhat more, was 4 yards and a half long, and 2 yards broad, and if we allow his bedstead to be 2 cubits longer than himself, and that is as much as we need allow, he was 3 yards and a half high, double the stature of an ordinary man, and every way proportionable, yet they smote him. v3. Note, when God pleads his people's cause he can deal with giants as with grasshoppers. No man's might can secure him against the Almighty. The army of Og was very powerful, for he had the command of 60 fortified cities, besides the unwalled towns. v5. Yet all this was nothing before God's Israel, when they came with commission to destroy him. He was very bold and daring, he came out against Israel to battle. v1. It was wonderful that he did not take warning by the ruin of Sihon, and send to desire conditions of peace, but he trusted to his own strength, and so was hardened to his destruction. Note, those that are not awakened by the judgments of God upon others, but persist in their defiance of heaven, are ripening apace for the like judgments upon themselves. Jah 3:8. God bade Moses not fear him. v2. If Moses himself was so strong in faith as not to need the caution, yet it is probable that the people needed it, and for them these fresh assurances are designed. I will deliver him into thy hand, not only deliver thee out of his hand, that he shall not be thy ruin, but deliver him into thy hand, that thou shalt be his ruin, and make him pay dearly for his attempt. He adds, thou shalt do to him as thou didst to Sihon, intimating that they ought to be encouraged by their former victory to trust in God for another victory, for he is God, and changeth not. How they got possession of Bashan, a very desirable country. They took all the cities, v4, and all the spoil of them, v7. They made them all their own, v10. So that now they had in their hands all that fruitful country which lay east of Jordan, from the river Arnon unto Hermon, v8. Their conquering and possessing these countries was intended, not only for the encouragement of Israel in the wars of Canaan, but for the satisfaction of Moses before his death. Since he must not live to see the completing of their victory and settlement, God thus gives him a specimen of it. Thus the Spirit is given to those that believe as the earnest of their inheritance, until the redemption of the purchased possession. Having shown how this country which they were now in was conquered, in these verses he shows how it was settled upon the Reubenites, Gadites, and half the tribe of Manasseh, which we had the story of before, number 32. Here is the rehearsal. 1. Moses specifies the particular parts of the country that were allotted to each tribe, especially the distribution of the lot to the half-tribe of Manasseh, the subdividing of which tribe is observable. Joseph was divided into Ephraim and Manasseh. Manasseh was divided into one half on the one side Jordan and the other half on the other side, that on the east side Jordan was again divided into 2 great families, which had their several allotments, Jair, v14, Machir, v15. And perhaps Jacob's prediction of the smallness of that tribe was now accomplished in these divisions and subdivisions. Observe that Bashan is here called the land of the giants, because it had been in their possession, but Og was the last of them. These giants, it seems, had lost their country, and were rooted out of it sooner than any of their neighbors, for those who, presuming upon their strength and stature, had their hand against every man, had every man's hand against them, and went down slain to the pit, though they were the terror of the mighty in the land of the living. 2. He repeats the condition of the grant which they had already agreed to, v 18:20. That they should send a strong detachment over Jordan to lead the van in the conquest of Canaan, who should not return to their families, at least not to settle, though for a time they might retire thither into winter quarters, at the end of a campaign, till they had seen their brethren in as full possession of their respective allotments as they themselves were now in of theirs. They must hereby be taught not to look at their own things only, but at the things of others. Philosophy 2:4. It ill becomes an Israelite to be selfish, and to prefer any private interest before the public welfare. When we are rest we should desire to see our brethren at rest too, and should be ready to do what we can towards it, for we are not born for ourselves, but are members one of another. A good man cannot rejoice much in the comforts of his family unless withal he sees peace upon Israel. PS 128:6.